How much do your genetics play a role in how jacked and aesthetic of a body you can achieve? How much do your genetics play a role in how much muscle you can build? These are questions that we all have, especially when we first get serious about fitness and bodybuilding. And in this video, I'm gonna break down for you the 3 main genetic factors that play a role in bodybuilding and that play a role in how jacked of a body you can achieve. Let's get it. So when we're talking about genetics and how genetics affects bodybuilding, we're talking about factors that you're born with that you don't have any control over and how these factors dictate, how jacked you can get. So the first factor I want to go over is muscle insertions. So let me explain what that means. All of us have the same muscles in our body, but they don't all look the same and they're not all placed in the exact same position. So for example, we all have a bicep muscle right here and it attaches on either ends to a bone by a tendon. So its origin is up here. So you have the bicep muscle, the tendon, the origin is up here. Then you have the bicep muscle and a tendon over here, and it inserts down here. Now, all of us don't have the same origin and insertion. For some people, their bicep muscle is going to be longer. For some people, it's going to be shorter. For some people, the tendon's going to be longer. For some people, the tendon's going to be shorter. And all of these are going to affect how that bicep muscle looks. So let's quickly take a look at a couple images so I can demonstrate clearly what this means. So first, I'm going to put up this picture here, and this is of Steve Cook. He's a famous fitness model, and you can see, based on that red arrow, that his bicep has a very low insertion. His bicep goes all the way almost down just to his elbow, and that's what allows him to have these really big, full-looking arms. Now, if you contrast that with this photo here, and obviously this guy has a lot less muscle mass, but you can see based on that red arrow as well that his bicep muscle inserts far higher up on his arm. So even as this guy builds more muscle and gets bigger, he's not going to be able to achieve that same look that we saw in the previous photo because of the simple fact that his muscle insertion is higher. Now, this doesn't just go for your biceps, this goes for every muscle in your body. So here's another example. Here's a picture of a bodybuilder's chest, and you can see here that his muscles insert, right in the center of his chest, so there's no room in between his chest, and that makes a really full, big look that looks great. And let's be honest, this guy also looks like he's on steroids, but that's aside from the point. He still has really great insertion points. And if you compare that with this photo here, even though this guy has a lot of muscle mass and he's lean, you can see that his muscle insertions aren't as favorable because they leave this empty space in the center of his chest. Alright, so the second genetic factor that I want to break down is your bone structure. So the same way that we all have different muscle insertions, we all also have different bone structures. So for example, taller people tend to have, longer bones on average than shorter people. That's what makes them taller. Now, what I want to focus on in this video is the shoulder to hip ratio. So how wide your shoulders are versus how wide your hips are. And this is going to affect how good and how jacked you look even before you've lifted a single weight in the gym. People who have a bigger shoulder to hip ratio, so people that have a more of a defined V shape, wider shoulders and narrower hips, are going to look better on average. They're going to look stronger, and studies have shown that people perceive these people as more attractive. And they've even done studies that show that men with bigger shoulder to hip ratios on average have more sexual partners. So if you've been lucky enough to be born with a really big shoulder to hip ratio, you're going to look good starting out, and the more muscle you build, the more it's going to even, accentuate this look and make you look even better and better. But by the same token, don't get discouraged if you feel like you don't have a great shoulder to hip ratio, because as you work out, you're naturally going to build muscle in your shoulders, your chest, and your upper back, and you're also naturally going to burn fat around your waist. So it's naturally going to enhance and increase this ratio as you go. And here's an example of a transformation photo I found just searching around Google. You can see that at first this guy had a pretty poor looking shoulder to hip ratio, but by cutting some fat and building some muscle, he enhanced that ratio and he looks way bigger, and he looks like he has way more of a V shape just from a few years of working out. Alright, so the third genetic factor that I want to break down in this video is your genetic muscular potential. So, we all have a given set of muscular insertions and we all have our own bone structure, but given that, how much muscle is it possible to pack onto your frame, and how much do your genetics limit that? But before I answer that, I actually took a pre-workout before I started filming this video, so I'm gonna go hit the gym and I'll wrap up filming after that.
Wherever love goes, there is also misery. It's no mystery. And you and I, we got history, yeah. Wherever Wherever love flows, there is also tragedy when we're in too deep. And you and I, we got history. Yeah. Go look in the mirror, say, hey, I'm sorry for all the pain. I'm sorry for all the pain. Go look in the mirror, say, hey, I'm sorry for all the pain. I'm sorry for all the pain. Go look in the mirror, say, hey, I'm sorry for all the pain. I'm sorry for all the pain. My love, it grows with the memories like a symphony. And you and I, we got history. Yeah.
All right, just had a great workout. Everything felt good, but let's get back to the point of the video and let's go over genetic factor number 3, which is your genetic muscular potential, or the maximum amount of muscle that you personally can build without taking steroids. So unfortunately, this is not as clear or as obvious as your bone structure or your muscle insertions. You can't just look at someone and magically know what their genetic muscular limit's gonna be. But luckily, some of the top fitness researchers have put together their own models about what you can expect to achieve as a natural lifter, if you reach your utmost limits. So here's the first model. This is from Lyle McDonald, and this shows how many pounds of muscle you can expect to build as you go along in your lifting career. So at the beginning, you're gonna be able to put on, a lot. You might be able to put on 2 pounds of muscle per month. But once you get, 4 or 5 years into your career of consistent weightlifting, that's gonna get reduced drastically. And another model that I like is from Martin Burkhan, and you can see here, this shows that at what height you are and what body fat percentage you're at, this is sort of the most you can expect to weigh as a natural lifter. So if you're someone who's 5'10", as you can see, and you have 10% body fat, then the most you're gonna be able to weigh as a natural lifter is about 180 pounds. Now, these numbers aren't set in stone, and these are gonna vary person to person, but this is, for most people, what you can expect to achieve at the absolute highest level. So in other words, most guys, even at their top form as a natural lifter, they're not even gonna be able to quite reach these levels, but then again, there'll be some genetic outliers that will be able to surpass these levels. And of course, this is assuming that your diet and your training is on point and you're consistent in the gym year after year. Now, if you're a newer weightlifter who's watching this video, then you're really getting ahead of yourself. This isn't something that you should be concerned with. You should just be concerned with hitting the gym consistently, trying to get stronger consistently, and eating your diet, eating the right amount of calories so that you can grow and build muscle. And to that end, if you are a new weightlifter and you're looking for a good quality routine to help you get started and maximize your muscle gains at the beginning of your weightlifting career, I have a free routine that you can download. Just click the bubble that just popped up. If you're on mobile, hit the I in the top right corner, and that'll take you to another web page where you can instantly download this routine. But anyway, to recap the video, the main 3 genetic factors that are going to determine how jacked you can get and how much muscle you can build are: first, your muscular insertions; second, your bone structure; and third, your genetic muscular potential. So when you combine all these different factors, that is sort of what's going to determine the upper limit for how good you personally can look and how jacked and aesthetic of a body you personally can build. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe to my channel so that all of my new YouTube videos pop up right on your YouTube homepage and you don't miss any of my new content. I will talk to you soon. Stay beastly.